Okay, welcome to our March 4th, 2021 Northampton County Council meeting. Can we please have Mr. McGee lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
to the
for
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and
justice for all. Thank you very much. Ms. Zembo, please call the roll.
Mr. Kuzic,
Present.
Mrs. Ferraro,
Here.
Mr. Giovanni,
Here.
Mr. Heckman,
Here.
Mr. Lott,
Here.
Mr. McGee,
Here.
Mr. Myers,
Yep, I'm here.
Ms. Vargo Hefner,
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Here.
all present.
Can we please have a motion to approve the minutes of February 4th, 2021?
I'll make a motion.
I saw Mr. Giovanni first with Mr. Myers as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes. And courtesy of the floor, Aileen, would you take over?
If anyone has a comment or question, you could raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you could hit *6. And I'm not seeing any.
We'll give it a second. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to address council?
If you do hit
Seeing none?
*6, okay, good.
Is there someone?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. County executive report. Mr. McClure, do you have a report?
Good evening, Council. Earlier tonight in the Human Services Committee meeting, you saw that we have fully vaccinated 21 of our Graysdale volunteers. We did this because, there wasn't full participation from our employees in the vaccination program, although we did 10 percentage points better at Graysdale than the national average for vaccinating employees. But our intention now is on and by April 2nd to bring volunteers who are fully vaccinated back to Graysdale. So those 21 folks who volunteer at Graysdale who are fully vaccinated, by April 2nd, we will bring them back to Graysdale. Other volunteers, previous volunteers who can demonstrate, who voluntarily will demonstrate that they are vaccinated, can come back to Graysdale. And any other new volunteers who can demonstrate that they're fully vaccinated will be welcomed back to Graysdale, and we will begin this process on approximately April 2nd. The other thing I want to talk about tonight, we hear so much media coverage about how things are improving throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the nation in terms of COVID-19 infection rates. But as you know, since almost the beginning of the pandemic, we've had a testing site collaboration with either Easton Hospital, the former Easton Hospital, or now Coordinated Health Lehigh Valley. And during the Coordinated Health Partnership, at one point we got to about 30% of the folks showing up with symptoms were positive for COVID-19. It has dropped down to about 21 to 22%, but it has held at 21 to 22% over the last 2 months. It's very stubborn at that rate. So there's still substantial community spread in Northampton County and the Lehigh Valley writ large. So I think it's important as leaders in our community to emphasize that we need to wear a mask, we need to stay socially distant, we need to wash our hands. The good news that we have, and again, to stay on the topic of vaccinations, the Pennsylvania Department of Health has indicated that COVID-19 vaccines, as of March 4th, 2021, 511 residents of Northampton County have received one dose of the vaccine, and 28,741 are fully vaccinated. Northampton County is doing well with its distribution rate compared to other counties in the area. Now, you'll remember we also had a COVID-19 testing site at the Park and Ride at 33 and 78. And you'll also remember how long I was advocating that they bring a testing site to us, which is one of the reasons why we had to have our own. And I think one of the few counties in the Commonwealth that did that. But the fact of the matter is I am now advocating to the Commonwealth to bring a mass vaccination site to 33 and 78, because we've already demonstrated that we can logistically move people through there. So we'll continue to advocate for that. Our process has probably been set back in time because of what I think is the absolutely correct move that Governor Wolf made this week to vaccinate our educators. That's an extremely important thing to do. So for our mass drive-through site, we will probably need the J&J single dose vaccination to make it work, because at these sites, they're talking about, once they get up and running, vaccinating 6,000 people a day. So that's a huge undertaking. So that is that. I wanted to also tell you that we have received from the Office of Community Planning and Development, CPD, our funding formula. We will receive a total of $3,051,035. The community development block grants will be $2 million. This is for 2021. Will be $2,217,058. The home investment partnership will be $645,299, and the emergency solutions grant will be $188,678. So, as Ms. Wondolowski's report indicated earlier, there is money now through several different programs to help people meet some of the difficulties they're going to face in the coming year because the pandemic did such damage to the economy, and we're here to help them. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. McClure? Mr. Myers?
Mr. McClure, what's the chances of getting that police coming into Northampton County to get shots? How do we stand? What's the prognosis with that?
Well, Mr. Myers, I think the Commonwealth has noticed that from the very beginning of the pandemic, Northampton County has done everything it possibly can to crush the pandemic. We're adjacent to 3 of the hottest virus spots in the world during the pendency of this crisis: New York City, the greater New Jersey area, and the greater Philadelphia region. So, and they had some of the highest rates in the world during the pandemic. And Northampton County, because of our aggressive actions, so we've held our own. We're sad about all the folks we've lost to COVID-19. And quite frankly, if the federal government would have done a better job up front, we wouldn't have lost. A recent study demonstrated we wouldn't have lost as many as 40% of the people who passed had they been more proactive from the beginning. But Mr. Myers, to specifically address your question, we're working really hard at it. I think they think we're a good place to come, but it's not done yet.
Well, I applaud you for the effort that you put forth in your administration and doing to do what you've done so far. And my hat's off to you. And I hope they give you the same respect and you get what you deserve. And this comes forth and we get what we need here. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. McClure? Okay, you're
Thank
free
you.
to sit again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, we have the public hearing on an ordinance titled, an ordinance amending the 2021 Northampton County Budget, Community Development Grants. Ms. Zirinsky and Mr. Giovanni introduced this ordinance at the February 18th meeting. And I'd now like to ask if there are any questions or comments from the public.
Not seeing anyone.
Not seeing any, not hearing any. Is there any discussion from council on this? Let's call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any old business to discuss? Hearing none, we'll move into new business. We have the consideration of acceptance of funds through the COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program Resolution. Mr. Lot, will you please introduce this?
Sure. Since this is new, I'll go through the whereases if you like. Whereas on February 5th, 2021, Governor Tom Wolf signed into law legislation that set aside $145 million to fund and aid hospitality industry businesses adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic through the initiative titled COVID-19 Hospitality Industrial Recovery Program, CHIRP, that requires counties to establish grant programs for eligible businesses. And whereas Section 134C of the Act of February 5th, 2021, known as the Financial Code, establishes the county block grant Hospitality Industrial Recovery Program within the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED. And whereas Northampton County, DCED, submits the documentation necessary and was awarded an allocation of $3,457,769 by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, DCED, to establish grants programs for eligible hospitality industry businesses by contracting with one or more certified economic development organizations or community development financial institutions, which will disperse the funding through grants agreement with eligible businesses. And whereas Northampton County is desirous to partner with Rising Tide Community Loan Fund, a 501c3 nonprofit community development financial institution, to administer the grant program as required. Now, therefore be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton that the receipt of the CHIRP funds totaling $3,457,769 is approved, and that the county executive is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreement documents with the Rising Tide Community Loan Fund. So introduced.
Thank you, Mr. Lot. Is there any discussion on this? We did review this at our previous meeting. Mr. Cusick.
Yeah, real quick on this one. Yeah, certainly I'm going to support this, but I think it's worth noting here that this virus is not what killed the economy in this industry. It was government and the restrictions that were placed on these businesses, specifically by this governor. And you know, the other thing that I want to say about this is to lay the blame on this at the federal government level is completely disingenuous. Who is responsible to oversee nursing homes? That's the State Department of Health. Okay. And if anyone was paying attention, there was a memo back in March of 2020 saying that nursing homes must continue to accept new admissions with coronavirus. So that came from Tom Wolf's, Governor Tom Wolf's administration. And the vast majority of the deaths that we've seen have been related to the operation of nursing homes, and a big number came from this order. So again, I'm going to support this. I mean, these are hardworking people that were put out of work and out of business, you know, and we do owe them some help here. But essentially, what's going on here is that government was the arsonist, and now we're showing up with a pallet full of drywall to make repairs. So, you know, thank you very much, and I yield back my time.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions, or discussion on this matter?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I think it's important that this money gets into the hands of these folks, and I think it's, you know, I'm going to support it as well. I just, you know, about Mr. Kusik's comment, you know, we all have our opinions on things, so I'll leave it there. I feel a little differently about it. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Lott?
Yes, I just, without getting into large debate about who's responsible, the response was not a good response by our country. We are a first world, you know, we're the #1 country in the world, but our response and our death rate, our infection rates are some of the highest in the world. I mean, if you just truly look at the numbers as a country compared to other countries, we did not do a good job. There was mixed messages at best from the federal government. We did not have a program. States were kind of thrown piecemeal situations. But all I'm saying is that's, you know, this is a debate that can go on that has gone on for a long time. I was kind of hoping we didn't touch on it on this one, but I totally disagree with Mr. Kusik's. Excuse me, I totally disagree with his summary of who's at fault on this. Of course, and everybody's going to have their own opinion. Kind of hoping it didn't come here, but since he put his opinion out there, I just want to counter it with pretty much just the opposite the way he saw it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. Mr. Myers?
I'm going to chime in with the rest of the guys on this. Bottom line is, it was blown from top to bottom. There's a lot of unnecessary that didn't need to happen. And I really have to agree with both guys where we did not need to bring this to this at this level. We've had a spirit of cooperation at this level. And I push forth at this point that we continue to have the spirit of cooperation and let it go. Only thing we do now is pick up the pieces, let's clean up and go from there, please.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'd like to, if I may.
Mr.
I just want to
Heckman?
point out that this is with the economy, but for the nursing home part of it, I think it's important to note there was a study, I think it was the CDC, that most of the deaths, or almost 50%, occurred in long-term care facilities, and that's nationwide. So I know there's been some fingers pointed at Graysdale or Pennsylvania for nursing homes, but this was across the board. I mean, this was devastating for any place where you have a collection of people, particularly those with compromised situations to begin with. And as far as the economic side of it, I'm not really going to get into it because I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough to speak to it, other than to say that, you know, it was 100 years ago the last time we had a global pandemic, and 100 years ago we didn't have a global economy. So I mean, I don't know, you know, I'm sure history will tell the tale of, as it always does, of who it feels was good, who was bad, and all the other things. I do want to say, though, that I'm very proud of how local government, once again, and people say to me, ask me about levels of government, and they say, why do you love local government so much? And I say, because we actually get things done, because we're service providers. People look to us. We can't afford to get caught up in making people read 750,000 words of a document before you vote no or yes on it. I mean, we literally have people who depend on us. So I'm very proud of how we handled it. As to the feds and the state, you know what? I will let people brighter than I am decide who the good guys were and who the bad guys were. But I am proud of how we handled it at Northampton County at our level. So that's all I wanted to say.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. Any other comments on this matter? Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Lot? Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
yes,
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
And Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Now we have the consideration of a resolution requesting the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to hold a formal public hearing on the Hercules Cement LP DBA Boozy USA Stockertown, Pennsylvania permit condition 21 submittal for quarry deepening to permit 0 feet of elevation. Ms. Zirinsky, will you introduce the resolution?
I will. I just want to say that this came out of our Karst Geology Advisory Council. This is the resolution here, and I'm just going to read it through so everybody has a good understanding of what we are asking for. Whereas quarry operations by Hercules Cement, also known as Boozy USA, including quarry dewatering and pumping operations, modify local hydrology affecting both surface and groundwater. And whereas changes to current quarrying operations, including proposed deepening, have the potential to further modify the local hydrology. And whereas hydrologic changes have the potential to change the frequency, number, and size of sinkholes in the vicinity of the quarry, and whereas the frequency of sinkholes, condition of local groundwater, and frequency of disruptions to surface flow in the Bushkill Creek and Little Bushkill Creek in the vicinity of Stockertown are a great concern to the general public. And whereas it is in the best interest of the residents of Northampton County to be aware of, gather information on, and have the ability to comment openly on such matters of great concern. And whereas Northampton County Council is requesting the Department of Environmental Protection for a formal public hearing as to the Hercules Cement LP application. Now therefore be it resolved by Northampton County Council as follows. Northampton County Council requests the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to schedule a formal hearing upon the application of Hercules Cement LP, also known as Boozy USA, referenced protection permit condition 21 submittal for quarry deepening to permit 0 elevation for the protection, security, and well-being of the Northampton County environment and its residents. Be it further resolved by Northampton County Council that the attached correspondence is approved for transmission to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection for the requested formal public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Zirinsky. Do we have any discussion on this motion?
I have
Mr.
actually brought Nate Pritchard from the Conservation Districts, who is also on the Karst Geology Advisory Council. And I brought him here to explain the importance of this resolution.
Okay, Mr. Myers had his hand raised first, so thank you, Nate, for being here. Mr. Myers?
I'll give my waiver until I hear from Nate, because I'd like to know a little bit more about this deepening. Explain it to me.
Okay, yep. Yeah, so just to reiterate, I'm Nate Pritchard, watershed specialist with Northampton County Conservation District. And tonight I was here in my role as the lead and Northampton County Conservation District's lead in the Karst Geology Advisory Council. So to answer Mr. Meyer's question, the deepening that's proposed by the quarry is to go approximately 50 feet deeper than its current elevation now, which is about 50 feet above sea level. That's what the 0 feet is indicating. So it's about offhand, it's 400, give or take, 50 feet deep right now. The application that's proposed through DEP is a minor revision to their current permit. So this is they have an ongoing mining permit, obviously, to continue quarrying operations. This would be a minor revision to that. And due to the fact that it's just a minor revision and not a major amendment, there is no published public comment period or a formal public comment period generally. That said, the public and organizations can still comment to DEP directly, and they will take those comments into consideration during their decision process for approving the revision. So to kind of again frame what the deepening, why it's important, or why the advisory council thought it was a matter of concern or at least interest to the public, is that deepening the quarry is going to deepen the level at which the groundwater is being drawn out of the quarry, potentially increasing the flow as well into the Bushkill Creek. And at this stage, the advisory council is not making any technical comments outside of requesting the public hearing so that members of the public can make those comments to DEP. But it as a general statement, if you're going to lower the groundwater table through further, through deepening, you're changing the hydrology, and that could theoretically change the sinkhole situation up there and the frequency or nature of dewatering in the creek in the area. Again, that's a general statement. I'm not presenting that as a technical, a certainty, but it's something that the advisory council thought would be worthwhile to bring to the public's attention and have a public discussion on it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Pritchard. Can I ask a question, please, Carrie? Can I ask a question first?
Good.
Thank you. Mr. Pritchard, has Conservation District or any other organizations had any kind of dialogue with this company? Have they allowed you to engage, or have they come to speak to you all directly?
We actually have the advisory council has a meeting scheduled with them next week at our regular meeting. So we are having an open dialogue with Bootsy right now. This is just a matter of the revision application. So yeah, we're keeping the lines open, so to speak.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
a lot of
Myers.
what this is,
Okay.
sorry. I
Now
just
my-
wanted to respond to your
Wait.
comment too, Lori.
Go ahead.
So a lot of what this is about creating transparency so that the public gets to comment, because the public is impacted by what goes on in the community. And this will create a more open dialogue with this company and the public. And we think that that's really important.
Mr. Myers.
Okay, now, I may not be the brightest apple in the world, so explain this to me. If we're going deeper, that means more water is going to be pulled from the Bushkill Creek, is that correct?
Not necessarily. The water is being pulled from the bottom of the quarry. So it's pulling from the groundwater table. Now, there's portions of there's some testing that's going on, which I'm not, really prepared to present in detail tonight, that as part of this application, they've done some testing to show what kind of communication there is between the Bushkill Creek and the groundwater table. But that said, I mean, when the pumps go down, the creek goes dry. So that kind of tells us that at this stage, the quarry, well, technically the quarry is not pulling any water from the Bushkill, but the water enters the bedrock as it falls into the sinkholes. So at this stage, when the quarry pumping goes off, the creek then falls totally down into the sinkholes and does not get recharged through their effluent. Is that, yeah.
He doesn't know what effluence is.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I understand that.
What's
So-
coming out?
Okay, wait. One person talks at a time, Mr. Myers.
So explain this to me. If they dig 50 feet or whatever they're doing deeper, is that going to resolve the problem that we have now when our creeks go empty and our fish are dying? Is this a solution to that?
I would say no. It's, if anything, it's going to increase the amount of water drawn from the water table.
That's the point I'm trying to get. In other words, they need to be stopped.
Yep. Well.
Well, that's not exactly what we're saying. What we're saying is that this is going to create a land.
Mr. Rinsky, excuse me. Mr. Pritchard, continue.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just trying to be as factual as possible as representative of the district. That it will have the likelihood of increasing the volume of groundwater being drawn.
That's scary. Okay, I got a better understanding now. I'm not liking what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Ms. Ferraro.
Tara, I thank you for bringing this to the council. I grew up in Stockertown, and that bridge is unable to be rebuilt. The poor residents around there have been absolutely plagued with sinkholes. And these fish kills, it's just been a nightmare continuously. Why can't they come up with some pumps or backup pumps or resolve this problem somehow or other with this, what it's happened to that area? I mean, it's not safe to walk or play in that creek anymore like we did when we were kids. And so anyway, I just thank you for bringing this here, and I think we definitely need a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I
Any other
respond?
questions or comments?
May I respond?
Okay, but there's other questions, so you might want to wait to wrap it up at the end, but go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead. Other questions?
Mr. Heckman.
Yeah, if I can, Nate, and I'm just asking you to possibly speculate here. We've had concerns over the years, ever since Route 33 went up and the bridge went up there. And some of us who've been around a while know there were some concerns because of, at one point, there were issues with the bridge actually supports, I believe it was, that they might sink or something, or when they were putting the bridge in. And it was the topography, the geology of the area. And we heard a lot about sinkholes then. And I think at that time, the state was saying something about they'd pay for it, but then we'd take on responsibility. And the county wisely said, no, we don't think we're taking on responsibility for a bridge in a sinkhole area for perpetuity. But I mean, I guess my point and my question is, would this then also be something that, since it is in that very same area, could in fact this be part of the problem that we have seen over the years with the Route 33 and as far as I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but the bridge.
The bridge.
Yep,
Yeah, there's a bridge there, and I just wondered if you could opine on that, if you would, please.
Yeah, I think that the bridge is built on limestone geology. There's sinkholes and voids within limestone geology naturally. The depression of, when you're pulling down the groundwater and you're lowering the groundwater table, that could theoretically, speculatively, increase the rate of flow through that bedrock, through the voids and tubes and cavities, which helps to wash out soil, the decayed bedrock that fills in those voids. So speculatively, increasing the rate of groundwater pumping, could increase the rate of sinkhole formation as a general statement.
Thank you. As Peg, having gone up in that area for many years and haven't been around, it is unfortunate what's happened up there, and I certainly wouldn't want to see it get worse. Let's put it that way. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mrs. Ferraro?
There's actually two. Oh, wait a minute.
No, that's the letter.
Okay, there's actually two bridges. I mean, it's the Route 33 bridge, which was hugely impacted. And then there's the Stockertown Tadamy Bridge, which probably will never get rebuilt thanks to them. That's my take.
Any
Thank-
other questions? Ms. Zirinsky?
Yeah, I just want to wrap it up and say that anytime you have land disturbance in an area by a company, it's going to impact the surrounding area, geologically, hydrologically. And what we're just trying to do is create transparency and public community input, because the people in the community are the ones that are being impacted too, and they have a lot of questions that need answers. They have a lot of comments that they'd like to make. And I think it's important to have this level of transparency when we're trying to figure out who is responsible and how we are going to resolve this issue. We brought this group together, the Karst Geology Advisory Council, in order to answer all these questions so that we could come to a mutually agreeable solution that's good for all the stakeholders. And that's including Boozy Unisem, who is, a corporation, a cement company in our community. Of course, we have to be mindful of all the landowners who have, like Linda Ayudasela, who is the one who lives next to that bridge. And I think this is an important step for us as an advisory council to gain more information and public comment and input. So thank you. I hope you all vote for this.
Okay, is there any other comment, question? Mr. Myers?
Just one comment. It's very important, and I think we really should. I'm going to go along with this without a doubt, because the way that creek is getting drained, I go by it every day, and it's getting lower and lower and lower. At some point, there won't be any need for anybody to be at Penn Pump. So we've got to make some changes.
Mr. Cusick?
One suggestion, I'm certainly going to support this. I think it's a great idea. Let's make sure that copies of this resolution get sent to the affected municipalities, so they're in the loop.
Yes.
Thank you. Going once? Twice?
I just have, do we have to amend it to add the municipalities at the be it further resolved, or no, we're good?
No,
Okay.
I think as a
Just
matter
know
of
that we're gonna send
courtesy,
it to as a courtesy, we're gonna send it to all the municipalities. Very good, thank you.
ready for the vote?
Mhm.
Tara,
Yes,
can you send us a list of the municipalities that you would like it sent to?
sure can.
Thank you. Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Are there any other items for new business to discuss this evening? Mr. Myers?
Madam President, I don't know if it's new or old, but I know when we left the last meeting, we were talking, one of the problems with the election was the drop boxes. For Mrs. Spadoni, do I need to get a hold of you? Do we need to sit down and figure out a resolution to make sure they stay in place?
I think I started that and got that to you via email. We should work on that.
That's all I need to know. I will research it some more. Thank you.
Thank you. And while I'm speaking, it might be helpful with the last resolution to be sure that it goes to the state legislators that are affected, specifically our state senator and our state reps, Joe Emmerich and whoever else covers that district. That would be helpful.
Are you referring to the
I'm-
last, or the
Yeah,
last
Senator-
resolution?
Yes, the
Yes.
Bushkill Creek ordinance. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, thank you. Any other new business? Hearing none, council committee reports. Mr. Heckman?
Thank you. Before the meeting, we had a Human Services Committee meeting. and a great deal of it was dedicated to Graysdale. And it was very informative. I would point you towards the minutes when you receive them, but we did have the standard report we get, and also Dr. Paige Van Wert was here to speak about specific infusion therapy. I'm not going to try and use this specific medical title of it. I'm not going down that road, but it was and how that's working and the unique nature of it. And we also had a report from the Ms. Repsher, the volunteer coordinator, about some of the things that have been going on. And we know with COVID, the idea of volunteering has been severely impacted over the past year, but there have been some things that she's been able to put together with students and others. And we had a report from the Director of Human Services, who gave us some good news as far as funding through DA, through the Department of, Drug and Alcohol, as well as an emergency rental assistance program. So I would say, again, if you have anything specific, that should be in the minutes, and that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Mr. Lott.
Yes, we had an Economic Development Committee meeting today at 3:30. We discussed the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, DCED, established a grant program for the hospitality industry and businesses. They designated to the county $3,457,769. That will be, we are just a conduit. The county is a conduit for that money. That will be dispersed by Rising Tide. And we voted on that resolution today at our council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Myers.
Madam President, I know you're asking for reports, but there's just something that's eating at me right now. And it's for my dear friend, Mr. Spadoni, the solicitor. And I just want to say this. You made a statement that you didn't want to chime in. Whenever something's going on in this council and we're not doing something or we need to be informed, you need to step to the plate and make sure we're doing the right thing. And I'm not trying to come down on you. I just want you to make sure that you do that for me, if not for me, for everybody, please.
Received and appreciated. Thank you.
Any other committee reports? Any liaison reports? Mr. Giovanni.
Yes, we had information technology governance meeting. It was via Skype. The important issues were the clarity, the Polycom clarity solution. Mr. Mace is waiting on the last conference call with the clarity engineers, so the hardware can finally be configured and shipped to County Council. The infrastructure for the clarity is all done by the counties, by the IT in the county, so that's all good. So I tried to pinpoint a date when they would be, a timeline when they would be shipping that hardware. I tried to shoot for the end of March, and Mr. Mace said, we're under the guidance of clarity. So we'll see what happens there. The other important thing was I asked them a question. We would like to go face-to-face meetings by our next meeting in March. And if we do that with the people that have been, got the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, that would come face-to-face, and some of them didn't get the vaccine, they may still want to be virtual. And how could we make that work? Could we get the video of the person that's virtually on our little screens in front of us? He said that would be possible. The only problem would be the audio feedback from the microphones to the people zooming in on the virtual. I asked him about a solution maybe of just doing the video virtual and have the council members call in on the dial-in number, would that help? He said it is a possibility, but, we'll have to see how that goes. He referred better to us staying to virtual meetings until we can all be vaccinated and get back to be face-to-face. Those were the big issues. The other one was the service desk has migrated all the SIRE to YouTube meetings. They moved them over, and committee meetings from 2016 to the present. And that's my report.
Thank you. Ms. Zirinsky?
On Tuesday evening, there was a farmland preservation meeting. To date, there's 17,502.53 acres on 216 preserved farms. They're supposed to be closing on at least 2 farms very soon. And they have the title for 2 other farms in the works. We received the list, and there are 20 applications for farmland this cycle. That is not necessarily closed yet. Those applications total 650 acres. So that's 650 acres that are possible. And that window closes on March 15th. To date, the allocation of funds for 2021 is a total of $2,342,039. And that's the spending threshold for the entire program with the state and county funds.
Thank you. Mr. Lott?
We had a prison advisory board meeting via phone. Most of the conversation in the group and on the board was about the renovation. A presentation was given about the upcoming reservation on the jail. The other thing, the jail is still under lockdown, though the cases have substantially been reduced. I don't even know if we have anybody right now. I think it was a very low number at the report. The one thing we do in that committee and that board is they take tours of the cell, and they haven't done that since last March. But that was to hear grievances and talk to the inmates and see if any issues. We have not been doing that. We still do not have outside people coming in the jail. And so pretty much things are the same. It's COVID down at the prison, but they're doing a heck of a job keeping it contained down there. And I just want to commend them. They're really working hard down there to deal with this, and it's not an easy situation too. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. Ms. Ferraro, do I see your hand? Mrs. Ferraro? You're muted.
What was your question?
I said, were you raising your hand before, or were you just?
No, I'm fine. I'm just
Okay, thank you.
propping up my chin.
I couldn't tell. I thought you were trying to raise a
All
question.
those Florida activities she's involved in.
I know.
Mr. McGee?
Hi, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission had their full commission meeting last Thursday. There was, we have some new commissioners that came in January. And we approved probably 5 to 6 warehouses. We don't approve the warehouses, and some of the new commissioners weren't aware of that. The Planning Commission makes the recommendations. They help the regions with the regional plans. They look at the plans and they make recommendations. The townships are the ones that do the approving. I think there was some misunderstanding in the meetings, and so even if we vote no for an approval, the project's still going to go. We're getting warehoused out here, as everybody knows. We were also concerned about, who's paying for some of the infrastructure, which we always ask those questions. They added some new stuff to their website. Again, I know I reported it last meeting, but there's some new reports on there. There's COVID traffic reporting, which I think is pretty interesting. They're looking at putting a map together on their mapping tools for actually warehouses and industries. And the latest map that they put on shows the industries, it shows warehousing, it shows industry, and it's unbelievable. If you get a chance to take a look, I tried to pull it up tonight, and for some reason I didn't print the paper, and it's not loading for me. But maybe next time I'll report it. But they're looking to put a map together to show where the warehouses are in the Lehigh Valley. Just driving around Northampton County, I ran into some warehouses that I didn't even realize were whether I came up on them on a different road or something. But anyway, I don't know what we can do about it. I know they're coming up with more regulations. They're looking at where the trucks, they have to park, they have to idle. They're putting a lot of those things into play. They're making some of the townships aware of this on a regional platform. That's it. That's all of my report. Thank you, Mrs. Barger.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Council clerk report?
Nothing.
Council solicitor report?
Nothing, thank you.
I have a quick report. I did poll several of the council. If I didn't call you, it's because I knew that you wanted to come back live. But I did want to check in with people regarding health concerns and their testing, their shots, etc. While I would ambitiously like to come back on the 18th, I believe it's more prudent to return on April 1st. And so I'm shooting to do that between people's need for quarantining or getting their second shots and getting their 2 weeks in. So I'm optimistically looking at April 1st as a return to live date. But again, that I need, if you have something that you need to tell me, I want to respect everybody's health needs and I don't want to compromise anyone. So I really, really would like us to work with IT to try to keep Zoom as a reasonable option and work on that audio problem, because I do appreciate the ability to see people, even if they're on our small screens. Mrs. Ferraro, did you want to make a comment?
I hope you can keep some of the virtual along with the with the face-to-face meetings. I know we did a board meeting down here and it worked. So hopefully we can get it to work there.
It's not my intention to return back to just the phone call-in. I don't think that's, we hopefully have enough technology that we can do better. And so, Mr. Giovanni.
Lori, of course, we get, the comment that the council chamber wasn't built for streaming. And, I got that from Mr. Derringer, so that's what we're up against.
Well, I don't think we were streaming when the council chamber was built. So,
right.
like time and life changes and we hopefully can move forward and make progress.
Right.
But again, I'm hoping that I do really want to respect people's health concerns and safety. And so that's why I'm suggesting April 1st.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Heckman.
When they did the Apollo project and were running into all kinds of problems, one of the statements was, there's a solution for every problem. It just depends on how much you want to pay for it.
That's correct.
I pass that on to Charles, Tom, and let's see what we can do.
I believe he's probably hearing that himself, so it's probably.
I'm sure I'll get some kind of text about that comment.
Hearing any other comments or seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
I'll second it.
It's the Myers Giovanni show tonight, unfortunately. There you go.
Yeah, the
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Stay safe out there, kids. Peg, have fun in that really cold weather.